Hey everybody, Rick with Rick's Adventures. Today's topic is death in Thailand. So stick around and let's get on with the video. Hey guys, so recently there was a friend of ours that passed away in the village, and I had done a TikTok video explaining how death was handled in Thailand, or what was done as far as funeral wise. Well, I had a lot of comments on that on TikTok, and people seemed to want to know more about it and were very interested in how it was handled here. So I thought I'd do this video on it and let you know. I live in a small village called Koksala. It's in northern Isan, Thailand. And the village is a standard Thai village. It's got a lot of farmers in it. Some people are wealthy, some people are not. Some are just very, very poor. The gentleman that passed away was a friend of Thiya and I's, and he was very, very poor. He didn't have anything. He was about 52 years old, and he had I guess, a massive stroke in the middle of the night and passed away. Well, the first thing that went on is once it spread through the village, they went around and they had taken up a collection. People were giving 100 baht, 150 baht, 200 baht, and they do this all throughout the year. But after he passed, they went around and they did this again to everybody in the village. He didn't have any money and his family was very poor. So what came about was we went that evening, the evening before the funeral, and there was a couple of little tent-like canopies set up, and there was food out there for everybody to eat that was purchased by the village or brought by people in the village. There was some beer and there was some soda pop for the kids and just different things like that. A lot of different food, and people sat around talking, and the gist I got were they were telling stories to each other and talking about their friend and what had happened to him. Well, after that was over with, the next day, the next morning, we got up, and it was really an unusual situation from my perspective. I'd never seen anything quite like this. We went down to his home, and they had a small truck come down, pickup truck, and in the back of it was this very ornate white and gold-looking big box. Somebody on TikTok told me in their village it was a refrigerated box. I don't know if this was refrigerated or not. But anyway, they put him in a box that was, I'm assuming, more conducive to the cremation process. And it was ornate. It was painted, had lots of ornate looking, just carvings or structures or little pieces. You know how Thai have very ornate furniture, that type of thing. And he was placed inside of this box and put inside the bigger box. And the bigger box reminded me almost something like you'd see on like the Ark of the Covenant type thing, on Indiana Jones. Very ornate, very pretty. And then on the front of the truck, there was a long, long, long rope. And anybody that was considered his friend was to get up in front of that truck. And we stretched that rope out, and all of us, we got on either side of the rope, some on this side, some on that side, and we pulled the rope out and we walked very, very slow. And there was a person, I'm assuming like a monk on the truck, and he was using a speaker, and he was giving this chant. Uh, I call it the chant. I'm not familiar enough with the Buddhist religion, but it sounds almost music-like. And he was doing this as we slowly walked, and it seemed to me like we were doing almost a simulation of maybe in the old days you were pulling the rope on a wagon or something. But the concept was as we were leading him, his best friends, to his final spot for his cremation. Well, the final spot ended up being something that I had no idea what it was. Uh, Behind the temple, we walked to the temple about 2 kilometers, and behind the temple there was another very large building, big square building, and it had this huge cone that sticks way, way, way up in the air with a very ornate cap on it. And I just thought it was just another room of the temple. The temple has a lot of different buildings and rooms, but this was the actual furnace for the cremation. So whenever we got to that building, the door was opened. I didn't notice that there was any type of gas or propane or anything like that. Tia, my girlfriend, told me it took It takes 3 days for the cremation, so I am assuming they're doing it like somebody told me in another village where they use just charcoal and wood and cremate inside of it. I did see when the door was open that it is lined with fire brick, so I'm assuming that's what they do. It had a lot of steps that led up to a great big tight porch on the front, in front of the door where the furnace was. They had a table set up there, and they removed the box from the box he was in, and they carried him up and set him out on this. And next to it was a photograph of him, and there was some type of ornate Buddhist like proverb or something next to it. I couldn't read it. And then down below, there was all kinds of flowers on a table, like a lot of different roses. So what happened then was they went over, there were several tents and canopies set up, and there were lots of chairs, and everybody got in there, and we all sat, or some of us stood outside, and the monks came out, and there were 5 monks, and they came out, and they went through ceremony. And their ceremonies is kind of, again, it's that chant type music, and they'd have one do something and then the others would follow. It almost reminded me, it's very peaceful, very melodic, if you would say. And they went through these steps, and then this went on for maybe 30 minutes. After that half hour, the monks got up and they went up and did the same thing at the casket that the man was placed in. And then it was almost like a blessing each one of them gave. Well, then when they came down, we all got up and everybody lined up and stood. And 5 of his closest friends, 4 or 5 of them, were up there, and they took like a coconut oil and milk, and they spread all over his body. It was open casket type thing. And they rubbed his body down with it, all over his head, his body. I don't know if this was to help with the process. I do know they said it was to make him smell welcome and good. So it was put on for maybe multiple reasons. I don't really know, but it was to cleanse him and to cleanse, I guess, like his soul, and to help, put him in the proper state before the cremation were to occur. Once they'd done that, they all stepped aside, and we all lined up at the bottom of these big stairs, and we each took a flower, we went up the big stairs, and we placed it inside on him, and if people had something to say to him or say goodbye to him, then they did that. And there was probably 100 people there, is my guess. A lot of people there for this guy. And whenever it was all said and done and everybody passed through, that was pretty much it. We all left that area of the temple, and I'm assuming that's when the cremation process took place. Now, Thiya told me he would be in there for 3 days, and then they would come back and they would gather all the ashes out, and if his family wanted some of the ashes, the Thai will buy these very ornate, I've shown some of my TikToks, I don't know if I have it on YouTube, but they'll buy these very ornate, looks like little miniature temples. They're made out of concrete and plaster, and they're all painted really ornate, and people will put them on their land, and inside will be a small urn, and they will put part of the ashes or bone in that, and then the rest of them will be distributed to the earth. And it can be in multiple ways. A lot of times they take them to a river and they put them in the river. Other times they have maybe a location that was a farm or the family farm, and they want their ashes distributed there. I think that's just kind of up to the family, what happens with it. Then after that, that night, everybody got together. Instead of seeing everybody sad and unhappy, we had a great big party for him. And everybody got together, and we had drinks, and we had food, and we had a really good time, because my understanding is the Thai people don't believe this was the end for him. It was just simply a new beginning. The Buddhist belief is that you're going to always come back. You're going to reincarnate. So for this, they're always thankful, because where he had such a hard life, maybe this next go around, he'll come back and be in a different life, something completely different. And so they don't look at it as being a detrimental thing, death, as much as they do just a new beginning. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, you know the gig. Please like, subscribe, and ring the bell. And the next video, I'll bring you something that's not quite such a downer. But I did think that you guys might find this interesting, because You know, the funerals here in Thailand are taken care of the village. They don't cost $10, $15, $20,000 like they do in the USA. And it was absolutely beautiful and heartwarming to see how they treated this man. So this is Rick with Rick's Adventures, signing off, guys. I'll see you next go around. Take care.